last night. I played at the Ouch Bar in Brighton. Not the greatest turnout in the world, but when you love doing music and whatnot, you know, you've just got to go out there and do it. You know, every gig is, as long as every gig's fun, then it doesn't really matter. And last night was fun. I first picked up a guitar. My dad had a very, very small tatty acoustic guitar, like a classical guitar. And I would have picked that up probably aged 6, I would say. And as a kid, I had a little record player and basically went through all of these old 45s. And the only ones I could really remember creating a massive impact on me was when I heard the Beatles, and I didn't know what they looked like. I just really loved the sound of it. And then I became obsessed with the Beatles and got books, watched the films, watched anything that I could ever possibly watch on television about the Beatles. And I think from watching that, yeah, I would have picked up the guitar. I was playing in covers bands when ever since I was about 14. So I was doing pubs, clubs, some pretty horrible places for a 14-year-old to be playing, really. But at the same time, I learnt an awful lot about it. I learnt a lot about audiences. If you've got, you know, a very nice listening audience, or whether you've got a load of drunks in a pub, you know, how to get people going. I think the highlights about it was that I basically learnt how to deal with an audience. And if I hadn't have done covers gigs in pretty grotty pubs and whatnot, and kind of paid my dues in that way, I suppose, then I think I wouldn't be as a confident as performer as I think I am, you know, or I probably would have been, but it would have taken a lot longer. Low points. Yeah. You won't put that in. I think I basically got bored of standing still. From those early days of kind of standing still, I eventually kind of got into music a lot more, and in particular, I really was influenced by watching Pete Townsend. Yeah. I think I listened to Live at Leeds by The Who when I was about 15, and I loved the sound of it, and then again started to find all the things I could. This, you know, I sound like an old fart, but this was before YouTube. Yeah. So I relied on my art teacher to give me rock films and go, look, you know, there's The Kids Are All Right by The Who, you know, you watch this, you'll love it. I think it's got a lot more subtle now, because I did go through the stage in a previous band I was in, of, you know, going really crazy on stage, not seeing anything throughout the whole gig because it was all blurry, because my head was going all over the place. And I did guiltily do windmills on stage, you know.
I've seen you do the upwind.
Have you?
Oh yes.
Oh, well that I didn't even realise that I was doing windmills. But yeah, I used to properly go for it, and basically because I thought, well, this is a bit of a boring show. Let's do something, and you know. But also watching like the White Stripes. The first time I saw Jack White play was kind of like, it was at Glastonbury 2002, and I remember watching him and going, well, he basically looks a little like Townsend on stage. Yeah. But he's not, you know, obviously Pete Townsend, he's his own person. So that's what I'm trying to do really as well, you know. I mean, you know, I just get into it. I just enjoy it. I try to enjoy it as much as possible, because there's been so many times when you play a gig and you go, yeah, I didn't enjoy that or something, or I put it on a little bit, you know. The main thing about the Standard Lamps and the music that we make now is that it has to be fun. The name comes from a friend, that's all I can say, a guy called Robert, and I was kind of working with him for a little bit, And he basically said, oh, well, why don't we do a project called the Standard Lamps? And the band that I was in with Jimmy, the bass player from Standard Lamps, that split up. And I basically decided after that I was just going to do a writing project, and I was going to make a series of EPs, make 50 off my own back, off my own money, give it out to my musical friends for free, and just say, tell me what songs you like. And the first EP was called the Standard Lamps EP.
Right.
And the second one was called the Odd Socks EP. And the third one was called something like the Long Overdue Extended Player, or something like that. And really, I couldn't really think of a better name than the Standard Lamps. So I said to my mate, look, do you mind if I use this? And I want to try and go with it as far as I can with it. And he said, yeah. So that's a pretty boring story, I'm afraid. But yeah,
No, interesting.
it was just come from a mate. The first gig I played in Tunbridge Wells was in 2004, and it was at the Forum, and it was part of a Battle of the Bands thing called The Stable. So I think in 2009 I wanted to do another gig, try and get one around Tunbridge Wells, because my mate Robin O'Keefe was playing with Origami, Origami Dinosaur, and I knew that obviously there was something happening in Tunbridge Wells, which I'd missed. So my mate Bart Brummer, he joined me for a gig at the Sussex, at the Little Fish Big Pond, something like that. Darren, in other words. He put me on, and then we did another one, and then Bart said, I'll introduce you to this guy, Paul Dunton. And then from then, I mean, Paul didn't actually seem all that bothered about it when I first met him, but he kept on asking me to come back every 2 months or something like that. And then I'd always say to him, oh man, well, I haven't got any new songs to play or anything like that. It's like, don't worry about that, just keep playing the songs, because nobody's heard them, so just keep playing them. And then through that, the band turned into more of an electric band, was what I wanted. And I'd say the big Tunbridge Wells break for us in a way was that we got a last minute call from Paul to play Local and Live Festival in 2010. And I went up and played as a two-piece with the drummer at the time. And it was kind of like, there was like a guaranteed audience, people really loved it. Within a week I had a call from another Tunbridge Wells band saying, we want you to support us on this, we want you to do that. And I thought, this place is really supportive of it, and really, I mean, Tunbridge Wells has been the most supportive place of our music. I'd say my favourite Tunbridge Wells gig was probably Local and Live last year, because we went on after David Migden. Again, having to follow him is really difficult. Yeah, and there was a good sense of achievement with that as well, kind of like after we played that show. I mean, the album launch at the Trinity was great as well. To play to a packed theatre of about 300 capacity. Right, okay. Well, I think Tom Williams and the Boat are very inspiring, just because they managed to kind of get 2 albums out in a year, which doesn't happen very often. It's just like the way it used to be. I find them really inspiring. I think David Migden, as a band of musicians, are just unstoppable, really. They're absolutely brilliant. I love Goldie Reed as well, and they've been really supportive towards us. There's so many. I mean, I have them all in the car. I listen to them all the time. But I'd say one of my favourite of the year, really, album-wise, is probably Dairy Lane, Anton Fee. I've listened to that album so many times. I really, really like it. And to top it off, favourite track. Well, I only really kind of got into the album. I only really got into them because I heard Dairy Lane. That was at Local and Live last year, and I remember thinking when that goes down, 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 down. I thought that's clever. I like that. But I'd say Dirt in the Dark. I really love it. All of those tracks. Rosie's really nice. You know, the FA Cup's great. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do it the same way that we've done before and record it ourselves and record it probably in the same room. But I want the second album to be different and better than the first. So, I mean, ideally I'd love to get that done by August next year, but you know, it's got to be right, and we've got fans in Tunbridge Wells and whatnot who probably want to hear the next thing that we're doing, which is great. You know, and it's really nice to have people going, right, when's your next one going to be out, and what's you going to do next? But it'll be done when it's ready. Okay. But as much variety as possible. That's what I want. It always starts with music, because I actually don't like writing lyrics. It's not something that I get pleasure from. I get pleasure from listening to the end result, basically. So it's kind of do the work and then you have it at the end. But it's always the music first. It's normally something which, you know, a little riff can happen, or a chord sequence, or you're, you know, on the way home and you think, right, okay. You're driving home, you think, right, okay, well, I'm just going to sing la 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 or whatever, and you know, you get your dictaphone going, and you kind of go, you get back and you go, I like that, and then you try to put some chords to it, and that's the way. But it's always the music first. The lyrics, I always have to really sit with the song and think about what I'm going to write about. And when it comes to writing lyrics, I normally have to go down the road that I'm going to have to sing about what I know, because at the end of the day, I'm the person that's actually got to sing these words out to people. So I don't write about love, although I'm very happy in a relationship and all that. I don't.
Nice save there, Mike. Nice save.
I don't write about love because I don't like hearing about love. I think it's been done quite a few times. So I like to write about bad love and that kind of stuff. And you know, not say make it a bit more real, because, you know, I'm not saying anything about that really, but I normally have to write about what I know, so it can be about people, it can be about what somebody said to me, or something that's happened recently, or something which happened years ago, but eventually I don't like to bare the bones too much, so you have to think a little bit, not get poetic about it, because I don't really get too poetic about things, because I'm not that great with words. The first song I ever wrote was a song called Head Over Heels, and I basically wrote it about a girl I really fancied at the time, and I played it to her, and it did no work. It just arse over head, I suppose it should have been called.
A crush and burn.
Yeah. And from then I knew that I didn't want to write about love. And I just properly started writing when I was about 19. And I think I only really started writing what I would class as good songs only about 3 years ago. And I'm 28 now. They were objects of love and devotion. I now have to check guitars for a living. Yeah, at school, in the library at my secondary school, there was the ultimate guitar book. I used to go to the library every day, pretty much, just to go, oh, you know, oh, 335, 58, or oh, one day it will be mine. So yeah, I think there's guitars that I've always wanted, but now I've always wanted an SG. I've always wanted a Gibson SG ever since I was about 12, I'd say. Not even seeing anybody play it, just the look of it in the book looked like I would like one of those. And I didn't get a Gibson SG until I was about about 17. So yeah, I mean, now I've got a Gibson SG, and I've got the nearest thing I can have to a Live at Leeds SG, which is, you know, a 1960s SG with P90 pickups. This is really interesting for people that don't like guitars.
There'll be nerds out there.
Yeah, P90s,
yeah,
that's where it's at.
That's it.
Now I've got one of those, I know what I want, you know, that's my tool and that's what I use, and I really can't think of any other guitar that I can imagine myself using as my main tool. I'm really sorry. At primary school, when I was 4 years old, I think it was like the first couple of days at school, I peed up against the wall in the toilets and missed, actually no, I didn't pee up against the wall. I was doing that whole game as let's see how far we can pee. And I pissed all over the floor. And they said, who did this? I was like, it was. I'm so sorry.